You're listening to the LP Solutions podcast, co-hosted by ORC insider Christopher McGorty and security consultant Don Carr, taking deep dives into all things organized retail crime, security, and law enforcement. Join us every Friday for a new episode as we explore informative topics and have insightful guest interviews.
Thank you for joining us for episode 12 on the LP Solutions podcast. I'm your co-host, Don Carr with Security Industry Consultants.
And I'm your co-host, Chris McGurty with Naoka Worldwide.
Welcome to the program. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have Ryan Harris with Ensurity. And Ensurity specializes in GPS tracking solutions. And we're going to talk a little bit today with Ryan about how Ensurity is using their solutions to combat ORC or organized retail crime. Ryan, thanks for joining us on the program.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today.
Our pleasure. Can you tell us just a little bit your background, why you created this company or why you are the CEO of this company, and how Ensurity is providing solutions to retailers and law enforcement to help fight ORC?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ensurity was originally called Ensurity Mobile, and that was the name that we went off because we were targeting specifically the telecom industry. So that's where my background came from. I operated several stores in Canada, and we were facing large amounts of either burglaries and eventually armed robberies that were plaguing our stores and fellow dealers like that we were affiliated with. I was trying to find a solution that we could use that could help us get these guys out of the store, but allow us to track them down, recover our inventory, and put these guys behind bars. And that's really how Ensurity started. We were able to create a device that was meant to look and feel like a real piece of inventory that would be in the store. And as soon as the bad guys came in and picked up the device and walk it out of the store, we would trigger a silent alarm. We would start dispatching police and getting live location updates every 5 seconds to pinpoint exactly where they are.
Very cool. And how is that information communicated to law enforcement?
Yeah, so we have a few different ways that we do it. Just in the US alone, there's over 10,000 different law enforcement agencies. So finding a single solution that's going to fit all of them is essentially impossible. So we have a few different avenues that we follow. So at minimum, we would be contacting the dispatch, like local dispatch, based on where the tracker is physically located at on the map at the moment. And we would be dispatching coordinates. We have further integrations with several law enforcement agencies where they may receive an automatic push alert as soon as the device leaves the geofence if they've asked to be set up for that. And in some cases, we're actually set up now with a company called Fusus, who's a real-time crime reporting center that allows us to integrate with their system. So Fusus, the dashboard would show up and you would see right away on the map that there's an Ensurity tracker moving down the road. And that would enable law enforcement to pull up the Fusus-enabled cameras and see other things related to the crime.
Ryan, you said that basically, you basically started in mobile. Is there other avenues that Ensurity is looking to kind of target, or other, industry sectors, or that you guys are looking to get into?
Yeah, absolutely. So although I started in mobile, quickly the word spread about the job that we were doing and the recoveries that we were getting. We've been able to target multiple other industries as well. So some of the big things would be the beauty industry, pharmaceutical industry, high-end, just like bags, things like that, that we've been able to go after and create successful programs to assist retailers in their issues. Outside of that, we've also been able to use our product to enable people to target some organized retail crime fronts. So we allow some large retailers to use our devices to embed them inside our devices that they use for like covert sales, to fence operations, to try and identify the transfer of goods as well.
Mm-hmm. So if the retailer picks up that, that something was stolen that has the device in it, now would the retailer report that that it's missing, or it hasn't been, how does that work? Or
Yes. So our system, the way that our device works is most of the time it's in a sleeping dormant state. Once somebody picks up the tracking device, it wakes up and starts communicating with our servers. If it stays within the location that it's protecting, nothing happens. The server will disregard the information and nobody would be notified. If it breaks the zone, which is usually the parking lot or something along those lines, then it would automatically dispatch our 24-hour monitoring center, as well as anybody from the customer site that would like to be alerted. So that can be anywhere from one person to 100 people could all be getting instant alerts saying, you have this device that's left a geofence, please look into it, essentially. Our dispatch center then would be validating the event with the customer and then dispatching police as necessary.
And I'm sure you don't put a device in every product, right? You're only targeting specific, items. So like if you had a rack full of North Face jackets or a rack full of, Canadian Goose jackets, and someone came in and grabbed the whole armload, you'd probably only have one of those devices or something kind of hidden in within something like that, correct?
Yeah, this is a one of many type solution. So we're definitely not putting a tracking device in every single product. This is really meant only for organized retail crime. So somebody who's coming in taking everything, not somebody who's who's taking just a single product and managed to go with that one device.
And you probably want to target, specific items that, if you're paying for these trackers, you probably want to pretty much make sure that it's cost effective too. So you're putting on goods that are worth to, pay for the tracker as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. So they're generally being put into higher end products that are more valuable and more likely to be stolen. But at the same time, sometimes we're putting this into something where they're just going to take a lot of it. So if we look at some over-the-counter products like, over-the-counter pharmaceuticals, they're not exactly expensive.
It's just the amount over time adds up. I mean, really say, what we see is, Red Bull or things like that, things that are particularly targeted. It's not, astronomically expensive, with a case of them. But if they're stealing 20 to 30 cases at a time, that could add up,
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
Very cool. And then insofar as price point, can you speak a little to the price point for these products? Are these items the trackers themselves? Is it per tracker? Is there a service-based subscription involved?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a wide variety of pricing depending on the product that we're protecting exactly. So we would have, for example, in our phone Ensurity product line, that would be tracking something like an iPhone or an Android device. And it's going to be the boxed up device that you're buying. So this would include everything needed to convince a bad actor that this is a real device that they're taking. And that would come with a subscription. Yes. Like it would come with a monthly fee. And that is for our monitoring, the data network, the server, everything that's required as part of it. Like I said, the pricing does kind of vary, but generally you're around, for the device itself, you're under $400 for the device. And then monitoring, you're usually around $200 to $300 a year, depending on the product that we're dealing with.
Okay. Very cool. And then I wanted to ask you, battery life. What type of battery life it can be expected?
Yeah, so this varies depending on what the customer's end use of the product is. So what they're going to do with it. If we look at something like a phone Ensurity device, that's meant to sit in the safe with the rest of the product. And essentially it doesn't go anywhere. In a device like that, we're getting 2 to 3 years of battery life out of the device. So they receive it in store, they charge it wirelessly, inductively through the packaging, and then that would just sit on the shelf for several years. So essentially longer than the life of the device.
Okay.
When you get into using it for some of the controlled sales or some in-transit theft, things like that, the battery life does change, but it all depends on how often it's moving versus how often it's stationary. But a general time would, for something that's moving a couple hours a day, you're probably looking at about 2 months.
Okay. Very good. And then what type of results and feedback are you getting from your clients insofar as reducing the shrink, catching the bad actors, prosecution?
Yeah, so it does seem to depend on the product that we're monitoring. Some products are easier than others. For example, like in the telecom industry, we have a fairly high success rate. We're over 80% of our if the product leaves the building, we're getting it back.
Wow.
In terms of if they're actually prosecuted, I wouldn't have the final numbers on what's actually come of that, but we are apprehending the people that have the product in their hands and returning the inventory to the customer. And once that happens, like that type of return on investment, if you look at, let's say that tracker total was $600, a typical store is going to have at least $50,000 worth of product inside of it that would have gone out the door with it. So the return on investment for the customer is astronomical.
Sure.
Yeah, on some of our products, like I'm just trying to think if it's easier to locate the tracking device, like if we have a hard time hiding it, for example, in a bag, if we can't hide it inside of the lining, then it's a little bit easier if people are, up to, if they understand that these tracking devices may exist, then our recovery rate can go down. But we're very good at hiding the trackers within the products if we have the ability to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Now, are you having any clients like, customize, how they want them, put into the products or the packaging or anything like that?
Yeah, most of our business is customized tracking. So we started in the telecom industry, and then people saw what we were doing and said, "Hey, could you track, this fragrance bottle? Could you track this, pharmaceutical over-the-counter product? This bag?" Everything really has been customized, and we're not trying to just use a single solution for everything. We want to make this as covert as possible. So if a suspect picks up, a bottle of like a case of Nexium as an example, we want to make it that they have no idea that there's a tracker in there. So it'll feel like a Nexium. It's going to shake and rattle like a Nexium, only there's a tracker built into it as well. So we're always trying to make this as covert as possible, because our goal isn't really just to sell trackers. Our goal is to actually have results from the product. So if we can't make a solution, exactly, we're not going to just try and push out a solution that doesn't work.
Right.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And then can you tell us a little bit about how long you guys have been around and some of your future plans and visions for the company?
Yeah, for sure. So Ensurity started in 2018. Originally, the company was based in just outside of Toronto. We moved to Florida in 2019, and that's where the main office is still based now. We have a location in Canada that serves all of our Canadian customers as well. Since that time, our direction, definitely we're still targeting telecom. It is our one of our major industries that we go after, but definitely we're leaning more towards the organized retail crime side of it. A lot of in-transit losses that people are experiencing through the carriers. We're helping them identify that type of loss and locate those bad actors. And law enforcement is definitely our latest forte. We're definitely going after a lot of the law enforcement, federal and local law enforcement, for vehicle type trackers or package based trackers. And that's where the direction is that I see us going, is more towards organized retail crime, in transit, and law enforcement.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because ORC is definitely on the rise and at unprecedented levels. So it's very cool.
Yeah, plus with the the Inform Act and how that that was part of the CHIPS bill that got passed, but it got kicked out of the CHIPS bill. So basically, the Inform Act that was looking to get kind of pushed through Congress got kicked out of that bill. So we're basically back to square one when it's coming to some of these online marketplaces that are selling the stolen goods, like the Amazon Marketplace and Facebook Marketplace, still don't have to identify who their third party sellers are. So it's still going to be an issue and be a problem until that gets addressed. But that's a whole other podcast.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It is and it isn't, Chris, because there's not going to be that level of disruption coming from those marketplaces. It's really important that companies like Ensurity exist to really fill the gap, right? Because this we're not going to be able to stop the bleeding on that level, right? So we can
Exactly.
stop
That's
the
what
bleeding
I'm saying. Like, yeah, I mean, this is a necessity because Congress, again, we talk about the failures that Congress has had. We've talked about it time and time again, Don, on the podcast of how this has been legislation, but it's just not being passed, and it's taken Congress forever to do it. But I have to say that Michigan, again, Michigan stepped up, and they did pass the Inform Act. So, kudos to Michigan again. They're the only state in the country, I believe, that organized retail crime is currently a felony. So we will continue on. Catch you bad guys. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Ryan, I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the program. We were certainly excited to have you on. What's the best way for a prospective client that wants to get more information to get in touch with somebody at Ensurity?
Best bet would be to either give our customer service a call or to probably send us an email. So that email would be support@ensuritymobile.com, would probably be the easiest way in. Or just look me up on LinkedIn and reach out to me that way. My name is Ryan Harris.
Very cool. Well, again, we thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us on the LP Solutions podcast. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Indeed.
Thank you for listening to the LP Solutions podcast. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, please submit a request on realtimemedia.group. That's REEL timemedia.group. You can download the LP Solutions podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts. This is a Real Time Media Group production.